Now you get to the task and you're reading this and it's like, oh my word, I need to review IFRS 16. Oh my word, I wasn't good at this. And now I need to be a technical guru. What is this APC wanting from me? And you start panicking and you start sweating. Maybe you start crying. I know I've started crying in an exam before, one of the board course assessments, because I was like, oh my word, I didn't prepare for this. So you think that you need to be this absolute guru, and there's like two issues with this. Firstly, you have no confidence in your preparation. Like you've spent 5 days immersed in this role. You've done your AA, your application and your analysis. You've looked at your background document. You've created connections in the pre-release information. You have sat with this. You need to be confident in everything that you've done in those 5 days. So please don't lack that confidence, because that confidence shows up as competence. Okay, wow, I feel like I need to dropping bars, mic drop, boom. Okay. And then the other issue is that you're assuming the worst. You are creating an expectation of what you think Psycho wants from you, but you couldn't be further from the truth. So what does that actually look like? Let me show you this. That task about the IFRS 16, we've spoken a lot about it throughout this session. You've got a good idea of what it is. So what you think you need for a C, detailed explanation of IFRS 16 intricacies. You think you need to identify every single item that's incorrect. You think you need to include the complex aspects, or you're going to be seen as completely incompetent, because how could you miss the complexities? And you think you need to provide the best strategic considerations that have ever been seen by anybody. That's what you think. What you actually needed for a C. You needed to identify a right of use asset and lease liability should be recognized. You needed to identify that lease and non-lease components must be separated. In fact, if you spoke about the practical expedient, you would have had an HC indicator. You needed to identify that fixed lease payments are part of the ROU and variable payments are not. You didn't need to go and do a calculation using that variable payment. And you needed to give at least 2 strategic pros and cons. In fact, if you gave more than 2 strategic pros and 2 strategic cons, you got an HC indicator. Now, I wish I could see like the relief on your face, because when I sort of looked at what I thought versus what you actually needed, I was like, what? So I hope that this sets you at ease, that it's not as bad as you make it in your mind. And how many times does our mind get the better of us? How many times do we assume the worst of a situation and it doesn't end up going that badly at all? So please do not fall victim to your mind. I promise you that what you've done in that pre-release period, if you have committed yourself, you will show up as the competent, confident CA that you are. And you will get those indicators. And those indicators you thought you needed to get a C will actually get you an HC. How incredible is that?